Hello everyone and welcome to Skill Sessions. I cannot believe that it is June and that we are halfway through the year already. Please say hello in the chat, introduce yourself and tell me where you're joining from today. Also, feel free to share why you're joining us today, whether you're looking to better support a colleague or an employee, or if the session today is for yourself. I'd love to hear your reason for attending this afternoon. So I'm just going to bring up the chat panel. Let's see where we've got people joining from. So Walsall, we've got someone joining from Birmingham, another Birmingham, Glasgow, not so sunny Kent, Lynn. Yeah, I'm in Bristol and it is very, very miserable and rainy. So many comments coming in. Oh my gosh, this is impossible to keep up with. It looks as though there's lots of individuals that have been diagnosed with ADHD on the call. Bristol, Glasgow, someone here supports people with ADHD. So it looks like quite a variety. Got someone who works as an employment advisor. Fabulous. Keep all of those comments coming in. I will do my best to keep up with them, but there is such a flurry. There's so many of you joining us today. Before I introduce you to today's guest speaker, firstly, I want to say thank you so much for supporting these Skill Sessions events. We're at almost 2,500 people within the community, and that's because you've helped us spread the word about Skill Sessions, so thank you. You've also been sharing statuses on LinkedIn. I've loved seeing all of those. So if you have some time this afternoon and you're a bit of a LinkedIn fan, please put a post on LinkedIn letting your network know how you found the session from Suzi. So of course, Suzi is going to be talking about ADHD and productivity. That's why you're here on the call with us today. But I'm going to quickly take the opportunity to let you know about CareScribe's next Accessibility in Action webinar, which we're hosting next week. It's on Thursday, the 12th of June, and Chris, who is CareScribe's assistive technology specialist, will be showcasing how tools like Captioned and TalkType can help support individuals with ADHD, both at work or in education. So not helping to improve productivity only, but also helping to improve accessibility as well. So if that sounds useful or interesting for you, for a colleague, or for your manager, do register. It's completely free to attend. Just follow the link that's being added in the chat right now. One of the teams are doing that for you. So speaking of Captioned and TalkType, it's only right that I introduce you to CareScribe. I think there's quite a few new people joining us today for this afternoon's Skill Session. So CareScribe is the organisation behind Skill Sessions, which is the event series that you're joining us for. We're an award-winning software company based in Bristol, and we create assistive technology to help people get more from every conversation. We do this through our two products, the first one being Captioned. So Captioned is a note-taking and captioning tool. It helps people capture and comprehend just the piles of information which gets thrown at them, both at work or in education. And we also have TalkType. TalkType is highly accurate, lightning-fast dictation software. It works on all platforms, Mac, Windows, Chromebook, and on mobile. It's super intuitive and easy to use, and there's like essentially no training required. Like there is minimal learning curve with it, so you can get dictating straight away. So if you are interested in finding out more about those products and how they may be able to help you either at work or in your studies, and you want to see the product for yourself, just click yes please. This is the first time we're doing this. We should be putting a poll up. Here we go. It should have arrived on your screen. We've got a poll and / quiz which says if you would like to learn more about CareScribe's inclusive technology, just let us know. So if you want to hear more about Captioned or TalkType, just select yes please, and one of the team will be in touch with you after the webinar. Right, so a bit of housekeeping before I introduce you to Suzi. Tomorrow, you'll receive a follow-up email, which will include the recording of today's live webinar, and it will also include any resources that Suzi shares. There'll also be a feedback survey where you can let us know how you found today's session. You can recommend any topics that you'd like to see in future. We'd love to know what you want to hear about, and also give your feedback for if there's any ways that you want us to improve these events. I would strongly encourage you to get involved with the chat if you can. For me, that's like one of my favourite parts of skill sessions, where I see all of the buzz and the engagement happening in the chat panel. So talk with your peers, share your experiences, and make the most of the opportunity to talk with others going through similar experiences as you. I can understand that sometimes the chat can get a bit busy. I suspect it will be quite busy today because we've got so many of you on the call. So if you find that like a bit distracting, you can hide notifications. So you can just turn off chat previews and mute the notifications. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. You may have some questions for Suzi, our speaker. In fact, I hope you have some questions for Suzi, our speaker. We've got a Q&A at the end. Please don't put your questions in the chat panel. And the reason why I ask that is because it gets so busy, questions can be lost. It's quite hard to stay on top of. Instead, there should be a very handy little Q&A section. There should be a button at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. Use that to ask your questions. It means that they don't get lost in the chat. And it means that we can also upvote questions. So if someone asks a question that you wanted to ask, you can just upvote it, and it means that we can tackle them in order of priority. And finally, final bit of housekeeping, because this is a question that always gets asked. Yes, the session is being recorded. So if you need to leave early, or you want to share this with someone else because you think Suzi's talk is so brilliant and marvellous, you'll be sent the recording and a full transcript generated by Captioned in your follow-up email, which will land in your inbox tomorrow. Right. I think that was everything. We're doing very well for time. So I'm going to introduce you to Suzi Payton as she joins me on screen. I will give a bit of an introduction to Suzi. So Suzi is an AuDHD speaker, a neurodiversity coach, a comedian, and she's recently been recognised as one of the UK's most influential and dynamic female entrepreneurs. She's got a unique blend of comedy and insightful speaking. Suzi draws on her lived experiences with ADHD, autism, Tourette's, and OCD to educate audiences, businesses, charities, and organisations. She empowers people to support their friends, clients, or colleagues in thriving rather than merely surviving. She's also co-author of the upcoming book, Lost and Now Found, A Guide to Understanding and Accepting Yourself, which is for late discovered autistic adults, and that is due to be released in August 2025. I actually saw a post that you put on LinkedIn about that, Suzi. So hello and thank you. Welcome for joining us today. What an introduction.
Hello. Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, so happy to be here. Very excited.
I'm so excited. We've got almost 200 people joining us for this session, eager to hear your wonderful tips and advice, Suzi. So I've spoken for long enough. I'm going to hand over to you, and I will be back at the end to do a bit of a Q&A. Cheers, Suzi.
Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Right, let's get started. ADHD, productivity and procrastination. So I'm well placed to do this webinar because I am an expert in procrastination. So I'm sure some of you are too, but the whole aim is to help you help others and maybe yourself. So thanks for having me. I've just been introduced, haven't I? Yeah, my mission is to help the world, make the world a better place for neurodivergent people. And I do that in lots of different ways because being ADHD, doing one thing does not work for me, does not work for my brain. So I've combined all of my passions into a business, and I get to be here with lovely people like you today. Well, I assume you're lovely, and there's a bit of an assumption, but I'm sure you are. Bit about me, I live in Brighton with my wife, Michaela, and my dog, Pepsi, who's at my feet trying to trip me over right now. I love to travel and adventure, couple of my biggest values. And I live in Brighton, and you can find me most mornings down at the Sea Lanes, the outdoor swimming pool, where I get my daily fix of dopamine, which is extra important for us ADHD folk. So 13 years ago, I was diagnosed autistic, ADHD, OCD, and mild Tourette's. The Tourette's is very mild these days. You probably wouldn't even notice it. And it's not all about swearing. Let's just smash that stereotype now. Tourette's are involuntary tics, which could be movements, which could be sounds, okay, and words. I'm passionate. I'm a passionate neurodivergent person, and I've always been interested in behaviour, why people act the way they do. Comedy, there's me doing a bit of comedy there. Goodness knows what I'm doing, but it made for a good photo, didn't it? And of course, my special interests, autism, ADHD. Today's session, we haven't got very long, but I really hope that you have a clearer understanding of ADHD in the workplace and ADHD in general, so some empathy as well and compassion for your neurodivergent peers, friends, family, colleagues. We're going to look at reasons why people procrastinate, and there'll be the same reasons why non-ADHD people procrastinate. But like I said, we are experts at it. We struggle with it. Practical strategies for managers and leaders to help others, and some ways to make an ADHD-friendly workplace. So, ADHD. I'm not a fan of the language around ADHD. So there's an abundance of attention. There's not a deficit. Okay. The thing is, our attention can go everywhere all at once. Okay. That's an abundance. That's not a deficit. Like I said, we can be passionate. I speak for myself today. I don't speak for every other ADHD person out there because, of course, we're all humans. Therefore, we're all different. So it's really important to get to know the individual that you're working with. We have interest-based nervous systems. This means if we're interested, we can do it without problem. When we're not interested, then things become tricky. So how do we make things more interesting for ourselves? Change, being ADHD, I love change. Now, here's the interesting part. Being autistic, I really struggle with change. That's a bit tricky. That's a bit of a tricky one to work around, but I do. We can hyperfocus. So the concentration thing can be a myth. We can concentrate if we're interested. And in fact, we can concentrate deeply, which really smashes the myth of ADHD around people can't concentrate. Yes, we can find it difficult to concentrate, but if we're in hyperfocus, really focused on something we're interested in, we can be in a flow state. And you probably, if you've got ADHD, you'll probably resonate with this. If you try and interrupt somebody who's in a flow state, in a hyperfocus, not a good idea. Not a good idea. That can be very, very disheartening, can be very shocking. It can be very annoying. Just FYI on that one. So we like novelty. So this is why some things can be tricky for us in the workplace. Such as we can get easily bored. Waiting can be an issue, not for everyone. I've managed a lot of in my life to manage those waiting times. Get my phone out, play a game, that sort of thing. Monotony, overwhelm, and rigid structure can be a hindrance for us. Not for everyone. Remember, a lot of us are a mixture of ADHD, autism, could be dyslexia in there as well, dyspraxia, Tourette's. You know, there's a whole host of ingredients for a neurodivergent person. And this is why I probably say this a few times today. Every ADHD person is different because we're human. That is what makes us human. We are different. Please listen, accept, and believe what people tell you. Even if you think, but they're so able, they're so capable. How can you find this piece of paperwork difficult? You don't necessarily have to understand from your own experience. but please believe what people tell you. It takes a lot for us to share, especially the things where we struggle with. So when you don't believe us, that can be heartbreaking and invalidating. So if this is the only thing you take from today's session, take this. So let's hear from you very quickly. What are some of the reasons for procrastination? So whether you're ADHD or not, what are some of the reasons you put tasks off? Let's have a look. Overwhelm? Yep, absolutely. Yeah, not immediately pressing. Oh, no, I can't. There's too many words. Yeah, if it's not urgent, it don't matter, even if it really does. Fear of not being able to do it, not knowing where to start, lack of structure, yes. Personal pressure, boredom, overwhelm, absolutely. Anxiety, yes, there's a lot of emotional stuff in here, isn't it? So I'm really glad that you've shared this, because the emotional toll of ADHD causes many of the challenges. Yeah, not knowing where to start. Thank you so much. Okay. We're all on the same page, sort of. Of course we are. So often us ADHD folk get called lazy, flaky, space cadet, not very nice labels at all, when actually the reasons that we find things hard to do, especially if we're not interested in them, is because of the executive functioning challenges we can have in our brains. So every ADHD person will have these challenges to a degree. Some we might not have challenges at all. So you really have to get to know the individual. So things like planning. I was a teacher for 17 years, and I'm a bit of a, I don't know if I'm an optimist or if I'm naive or a mixture of the two. Because for 17 years, I said to myself, one day I'll get the hang of planning. 17 years. Wow. I never did get the hang of planning. I managed the short-term stuff, like I could plan a lesson the night before, a few days before, but the medium-term planning, the longer-term planning, my brain really struggles with that whole planning thing. So of course, if I need to plan something, I'm going to put it off because I really struggle with that. So I'm going to talk about lots of the reasons behind procrastination. And then I'm going to give you lots of tips and strategies that you can try with yourself, with your students, with your colleagues. But of course, you're not going to go up to them and say, oh, I've got all these strategies now, try this. Of course you're not. You're going to say to them, look at these strategies. Which one would you like to try? Yeah, planning, organising, working memory. When I had my ADHD assessment, the psychologist was pretty shocked of how poor my working memory is. So holding information in your brain short term, really, really not good. So multi-step directions. If you're giving somebody instructions, two at a time would be great. Any more, my brain shuts down, overwhelm, which can lead to frustration. And then I appear like a grumpy person. You see how it all connects? So these are a lot of the reasons why we struggle. And yeah, please let me know if I miss anything really obvious today, because this is one of my fears that made me procrastinate. Please pop it in the chat and hopefully I'll catch on. So to put it into context, the executive functioning side of things really impacted me and still does, but I've learned a lot of ways. So look at the wardrobe picture. That was what my wardrobe looked like when I was growing up. Well, it still does actually. Have you heard of a floordrobe? That's where your clothes are on the floor instead of the cabinet. Okay, and if you're ADHD or suspect you are, you might relate to this. You've got your pile of clothes on the floor. You think, "Oh, I'm going to tidy them up. They're doing my head in," especially being autistic. I hate mess, but I'm messy. I fold them all up, put them on the bed. Oh, that's enough. Go and have a cup of tea. Bedtime comes. Oh, the pile of clothes are on the bed. I neatly put them back on the floor. This is the ongoing issue of the wardrobe. I do make joke of it. I'm a comedian as well. But the shame that I've had to overcome to accept that I struggle with this stuff and that actually being messy doesn't make me a bad person, that's taken years. I've got into £20,000 worth of debt. Not simply, because of the executive functioning side of things, the impulsive spending, the lack of forethought, the lack of planning, the head in the sand. And that's an article from a paper online. Probably not the best photo to put with a sad debt story, me going, "Ee," but there you go. Anyway, they wanted selfies, not professional shots. I was a day early for a flight once. Okay, and that's all to do with executive functioning. And when I went traveling in the Philippines, I hid some money because I was backpacking, completely forgot. So my working memory tripped me up, completely forgot, accused the hotel staff of stealing my money, went back to my room, found the money hidden in a wallet. So these are some examples. And the balloons, forgetting friends' birthdays. You would think by now I would have put them in my calendar, wouldn't you? Every year I message one friend, "When is Naomi's birthday? I know it's in September." So, time blindness. So time for ADHD folks is a bit, well, for everyone, it's an abstract concept and it can be quite challenging for us. So if you're like me, you would have used anxiety to drive you to be early to everything. So I'm an ADHD person that's extra early to everything. And if I'm not, it causes too much stress. Many other ADHDers simply find it so hard to get to places on time. A way around this in the workplace is, of course, flexible start and finish times. You know, that's a great way around it. And deadlines, you know, it's so important to have a deadline. If you say to an ADHD person, if I say to you, "When do you need it?" and you say, "Oh, whenever you like, whenever you can," okay, just don't do it, because my brain goes, "Oh, it's not important then," and I'll never do it unless I've got that deadline, which can be moved, but you need to start with that. So the emotional toll. This is what the stuff they don't really tell you in the diagnostic criteria. Of course they don't. There's so much more to ADHD. It's not just hyperactivity. Some people are not hyperactive. Some people's hyperactivity is hidden inside their brain and their brain's going, "Oh." And some people, like myself, I was diagnosed with inattentive ADHD, where my brain tends to zone out quite a lot of the time. So, perfectionism. Somebody in the chat mentioned fear of getting started, fear of doing it wrong. Perfectionism is a huge challenge for so many people that I know who are ADHD, and it can stop us getting started. Okay. When I was putting together this presentation, I was trying to work out, why am I putting it off? Why am I putting it off? Because I was very excited. And it was, you know, I already mentioned it, worried I would leave something really important out. Well, then I have to have a word with myself. And what's the worst that can happen if you leave something important out? I have to tell myself I can't impart every bit of my knowledge that I've acquired over these 49 years in this presentation today. I mean, that wouldn't be very helpful for you either, would it? These are the challenges. So empathy, compassion, and kindness is what we need rather than judgment. You mentioned that in the chat as well. Overwhelm can stop us getting started. We are very easily overwhelmed, and I don't speak for everyone, but I must say, most people that I speak to are very overwhelmed. And then all of the tasks, even if they're fun things, it all becomes this big cluster, and it's like mud, walking through mud, you know, or swimming through mud. That would be harder, wouldn't it? Boredom. I used to struggle really badly with being bored. Now, hopefully, in your workplaces, people, especially in the meetings, aren't all sitting there yawning. If they are, I think you might want to maybe adjust your meeting style. But the fear of boredom is very real, and it can make us avoid things if it's a boring task. So for me, a boring task would be data entry into a spreadsheet. I would put that off, because even if you had all the, you know, all the figures there and I just had to put them in, that would be so boring for me. It would feel painful. So of course I would put it off. RSD, can you just put in the chat if you've heard of RSD, which is rejection sensitivity dysphoria? It's a huge challenge for us ADHD folks. Just a yes or a no in the chat, please. Yes, no, yes, yes. A mix. Okay. Well, it's really, again, it's not part of the diagnostic criteria for ADHD. But it's such a, oh yes, Kathy says. Yeah. Oh, one of your biggest problems, Thomas. Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge issue. And so basically what it is, it's a really intense pain, and it can feel physical as well, associated with any criticism or perceived criticism and rejection. Okay. And that's perceived rejection as well. So, I'm going to read this out. For people with ADHD, shame arises from the repeated failure to meet expectations from parents, teachers, friends, bosses, and the world. It's estimated that those with ADHD receive 20,000 corrective negative messages by age 10. So how many, I'm no maths whiz. In fact, I have dyscalculia. But that's a lot of negative messages by the time you reach adulthood, not even knowing, because many of us didn't know that we had ADHD. They view themselves as fundamentally different and flawed. So all these challenges that I'm talking about, and it does, I'm such a strengths-based person, but it's so important to share the challenges, isn't it? I mean, please focus on the strengths, absolutely. But to receive so many negative messages, of course, it's gonna affect your brain. It's basically a trauma response, and your brain is going to be on the lookout for hurt, for criticism, for rejection. So, I mean, how is that going to show up in the workplace? In fact, can you pop in the chat? How do you think that could show up in the workplace? And if you're comfortable sharing for yourself, it's going to cause a lot of challenges. Oh yeah, Neil, I like your top tip there. I kind of touch on that later. Introversion, fear, overcommitting. Yeah, low mood. Yeah, withdrawal, absolutely. Avoidance. I was an expert avoider. Absolutely. I would do anything to avoid what I thought was going to be some negative feedback at work. When I was in the schools, I worked for the YMCA, and being being like comedy inclined as well, I would avoid it by making jokes, distracting. Yeah. Just cry. Yeah, Sean. A light bulb moment. Yeah. So I've done a lot of work on RSD, and then now it doesn't hurt nearly as much. And one of the most empowering things I've read, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. If you've read that book, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's really easy to read. It's based on Toltec wisdom, Native American wisdom, and the one agreement: don't take anything personally. Now, this takes time, you know, when you've spent your life taking things personally, but whatever anyone says or does is not about you. It's about them. And if somebody's giving you feedback at work, you know, hopefully in a nice, kind way, but whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, um, it's one person's opinion, and it doesn't alter your worth as a human. Okay, so it's really important to remember who you are and how amazing you are when you experience that rejection. And it's all feelings are valid. So it's not like, oh, is this RSD or am I feeling bad? You're feeling bad, you know? What can we do about it? I mentioned good old hyperfocus. Now, this is an amazing thing once you can learn to focus it. Focus it. Because, like I said, it can be, oh gosh, Pepsi. Sorry, my dog's now trying to throw everything out the way. One moment. Over there, please. It's trying to knock my standing desk off of my table. Hyperfocus. Yeah, help or hindrance. What do you think in the workplace or at schools and colleges? Both. Yeah, it can be both. Hindrance. Oh, what's that? I will get a thought in my head that is all consuming, can't focus on anything else until I've acted on it, taking me away from my work. Absolutely, Alicia, sorry, I don't know how you say it. Yeah, it can be really hard when you're really focused on something. I mean, I get so focused. I love writing. I've got a book coming out, and I can be really hungry and need the loo, and I'm like, I cannot move. I still have to carry on this writing. So yeah, it really depends. But if we can harness it, it can do us well. Like I said, being interrupted from hyperfocus, it's really quite startling and frustrating. So if you're managing somebody who's deep in focus, please don't tap them on the back. Okay? If you're likely to get a whack in the face, maybe that's just me. Again, it's gonna, if you're hyper focusing on something, it could be stopping you doing something else that you need to do. So let's spend some time then. How are we doing for time? Goodness me, got about 10 minutes, 45, with some top tips on what could help. Again, please don't assume any of this will work with your ADHD people that you're supporting. Please don't assume, because you know what assuming does, doesn't it? It's something about an ass out of you and me. So somebody put this in the chat just now. I've put the frog there. You know that book, that whole mindset thing, eat the frog, do the boring task first, and then you can do the fun stuff. In my experience, and many people's, not everyone, I can't speak for everyone, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for my ADHD brain, because if I've got to do the boring thing first, then I've got zero motivation. That gives me zero dopamine. So what do? We do the fun stuff, the easy stuff, and the creative stuff first. So I've put the film there. I've got some new editing software that is just amazing, Riverside, and I love it. So I'll be sitting here doing something that's a bit more challenging, and I'm like, oh, I could just edit that video. And what I've learned to do is go with it, go with the flow of what my brain needs to do, within reason, of course. I do the video, then my mood is lifted, I've got a bit more dopamine, then I can tackle the, let's say, looking at the spreadsheet for my bookkeeper. Okay, that's kind of the boring stuff. It helps build momentum, and it will make your people, the people you're supporting, much happier, and they will feel more productive because they're getting stuff done. We don't like not getting stuff done, so let's make it easy. Our society has always taught us things need to be hard. No, they don't. That is all a lie, okay? Things should be easy. The thing is with us ADHD folks, we're used to things being hard, so we just think that's normal. It's not. Things can be easy. So that's one top tip. Accountability, a buddy or groups. So WhatsApp groups, you know, you could set one of those up within your organization or a channel on Slack or something, just to say, look, morning everyone, I'm working on this report today. Just so that you've committed to it, and it's going to help you hopefully do that report. Groups, you know, you could meet up, you could have groups within your organization where you could meet up, talk about how you're getting on, what's going well. And hopefully they wouldn't all be laying on the floor like that, because that would be a little strange, but that's a nice group picture. Body doubling. Body doubling is where you're with somebody else doing a task that you find tricky, or any task, but just having somebody else there can magically, there'll be a brain-based science explanation for this, help you get on with the task in hand. Not if they're a chatterbox, okay? You don't want them to distract you, but this can be really helpful. So if you're working from home, which I know a lot of us are, you can even do this online. There are body doubling groups online where you can log on, say, oh, I'm just writing this blog post. Camera's off if you like, because I find that weird, the camera being on. Doing the blog post, and it feels like you're doing it alongside somebody else. Don't underestimate the power of body doubling. Support with repetitive and challenging tasks. So deadlines important. Don't say whenever you can, or there's no rush. Or even better, how about you take that task away from them? Could somebody else do it who doesn't struggle with it so much? Helping people to break tasks, like we mentioned overwhelm already, and sometimes we just don't know where to start. Our brains can't even find out where to start. So if that comes easy to you, maybe you can help somebody do that with them. Okay, what's the first step? Excuse me. And when I say tiny steps, I mean tiny steps. So first thing, I need a cup of tea before I can do anything. Okay. Okay, so what's the first step? Go into the kitchen, fill the kettle. So we're breaking things right down, and you can transfer that. Now, Kerry, I see you've raised your hand, but I'm going to have to, if you've got a question, please put it in the Q&A thingy, ready for Q&A. Okay. Use of timers. I had to apply this method when I was creating this presentation, just, I think, because it just felt so big. And then I was working in bursts of 20 minutes, then taking a break. So that was either a cup of tea, a bit of stretching, some breath work, my weights that I can't use at the moment because of my dodgy shoulder. That can really help with motivation and productivity. Timers, smartwatches. Again, don't assume people know what to do with these things. Many do, many don't. So you need to really support them and help them. Or you don't have to like have all the answers. You can help them find the people that can help them. Having visual clocks to help with that time, keeping track of time. There are so many apps that can help you. And back to the previous screen, not the previous screen, AI. AI is a game changer. So this room that I'm in now, it's kind of the spare room office study thing. And it's a bit messy, funnily enough. And I'm autistic as well, and I really want a tidy office. So I put into my AI, I use Copilot. A lot of people use ChatGPT, don't they? And I said, I really want to tidy my office. I just don't know where to start. And then it gave me kind of a general idea of what to do. And then I said, oh, I've got ADHD and I find it really hard to break it down. And then it broke it down into some really good manageable steps for me. So using AI, game changer. I'm no expert, but I hope to be soon because it's life changing. You know, the stuff they're doing at CareScribe with the captions, all AI stuff. It's so making life so accessible for us neurodivergent people. Okay. To-do lists. We need them because otherwise the information just goes. It's a bit like out of sight, out of mind. That is a really difficult challenge for us. If we can't see it, it doesn't exist. So I've got a long to-do list, but that's not very, that's quite overwhelming. So for me, what works for me is I've got a mini list and I put 3 things on it at the beginning of the day, just 3 things. And I also, as a backup for my brain that doesn't work very well in these areas, I've got my notes, my sticky notes, that's on my computer desktop as well. And also putting it into your planner and diary as well, whatever you use, because our memories are not great. So we need external help with that. Okay. Yeah, I sometimes email myself if there's something I really have to do and I'm just not doing it for whatever reason. I send myself a nice email, send it, forget I've sent it, look at my notifications. Oh, I've got an email. I wonder who that is. And it's me. I do that all the time. And then the traditional sticky note can help, but they can also become part of the furniture as well, and you don't see them. Energy awareness. Help people to identify when they have good energy, when it's high, when it's not so good, and when it's low, and help them and support them and tell them it's okay to do the tasks in that order. You know, this is about working with your brain and not trying to fit yourself, make yourself neurotypical. That's never going to happen because our brains are different. And the thing is, it's like being an alien. We look like everyone else, but what's going on inside is a whole different story. You will get a copy of these slides as well. So if it feels a bit rushed, you can have a look, take your time and pick out the ones that could help. Talked a lot about challenges today, but it's so important you understand where these challenges come from. Otherwise, we can say things that are not very helpful, like, oh, can't you just get on with it? Can't you just focus? So find out the individual, get to know them, find out what they're good at, find out where they excel and give them more of that stuff. Remember, we've had a lot of self-esteem battering over the years. So if you can help us build that up, you know, and create that environment of safety, psychological safety, we're more likely to be productive and stay. Okay, retention as well. Please, please, please listen to what people tell you, believe them, accept and support. You don't have to have all of the answers. You're not supposed to be an expert in ADHD, but if you listen to what people tell you, you can work together. Okay? Regular check-ins, one-to-ones, but check what they need first. Don't just assume. Can really help stay on track and feel supported. Regular breaks. Okay? Remember, we're looking at accommodations, reasonable adjustments, but yeah. So if someone needs a break, encourage it, okay? That makes us more productive when we've had a rest. Flexible working times, I mentioned earlier. Can they come in later or leave earlier? You know. Workspaces, so standing desks, that's what I've got here today, can really help me with productivity. I kind of, when I'm standing, I'm like, right, ready to go. When I'm sitting, I'm a bit like, you know? And headphones, listening to music, let's normalize this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you do already, to block out the distractions, you know? Meetings, oh my gosh, I've spent many a meeting doing the most elaborate doodles, and thankfully nobody ever told me not to, but I know it happens. It's not professional if you're doodling. Doodling is a form of stimming, which is self-stimulatory behavior, and it can help you concentrate. Fidget toys, I've been holding this all session, and it just helps me doing something with my hands to focus. And I'm not doing this all the time, which I do on stage. AI, Otter AI, to transcribe or even care scribe perhaps, and agendas. At least give us a chance so we can kind of follow what's going on. So I'm going to finish up very quickly in 1 minute, Claire, don't panic. Please be aware of people using these comments. You know, oh, everyone struggles with that. You just need to focus. They're called microaggressions for a reason. They're damaging, they're judgmental, and they're invalidating. Collaborate and ask, how can I support you? What do you need from us? Don't assume. Keep supporting even if they're doing well. If you think, okay, or they're doing fine, they don't need the support anymore, that's like literally taking I don't know, a walking stick away from someone. Oh, you're walking all right, let's take the stick away. No. Feedback. Work on your feedback delivery, people. Start with what went well and then ask them what would you like to, you know, what did you think? What can we do about this? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you're going to give some feedback. I have made a resource for you, and it's a nice, friendly, printable, quick reference guide for managers to support ADHD folks. So you can scan the QR code, you'll get these slides. Please head to my website, give me any feedback on this, you know, this sprint, not a marathon session. And please follow me on social media. I've got events coming up, got all sorts going on. And that is me. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand back to Claire now for the Q&A.
Hi, Susie. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. We're getting lots of thank yous in the chat as well. I know it's been quite busy and quite hard to keep up with, but I'll read out some of the comments. So that was great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very informative.
Thank you.
Yeah, really wonderful presentation and tips shared, Susie. And also just to everyone in the chat, it was popping off. There was loads of great conversation and sort of tips being shared between the community attending the webinar as well. So yeah, just wonderful to witness and to be a part of actually. So still getting loads of thank yous. We've got about 10 minutes left. So we've got quite a few questions in here, Susie. I'm going to have a look through and select some ones for you to answer.
Cool.
So we had one which piqued my attention actually, which was around, where has it gone? So it says, do you have any tips for working with people who have pathological demand avoidance in conjunction with their ADHD? And they follow up saying, how can I suggest helpful time management tips without it coming across as a demand? Can you answer that one,
Wow.
Susie?
I can, because something I didn't mention is I have a PDA profile myself. So a lot of the stuff that I've talked about today would naturally be PDA friendly. And it really is about well, it's about a lot, but making people, well, no, not making them feel like, giving people a choice. So when you say about time management, I'm going to have to assume here, let's assume, I don't know, they're late quite often. So it's the way you communicate that, like, oh, I noticed I noticed that you were late for the session. Is everything okay? Was there anything that stopped you getting there on time? And if depending on what they say, like, oh, shall we work on this together? Do you want me to help you with that? And if they're like, no thanks, I'll do it myself. But okay, great. So it's about giving people a choice. So I had to kind of make that up. So it's easier when there's a specific situation. But if you can help people feel that they've got autonomy over their decisions, over what's going on, giving them a choice, then you're going to have a much better relationship with that PDA person. And please remember, we're hardwired to kind of feel threatened by being told what to do. So, okay, don't like being told what to do, ask them then. Please, can you get here by 10 o'clock next time? Rather than, you really need to be here by 10 o'clock. Okay, if you tell me I need to do something, I'm just going to be like, my brain is just going to be like, I don't need to do anything for you. Okay, so ask it as a question.
Okay, I love that. It's about that. And it's quite subtle, isn't it? That sort of shift. That example that you gave, Suzi, was quite subtle, but it's collaborative rather than combative, like from what you've described and like the difference
Yeah,
in approach. Lovely
yeah,
stuff. Okay,
absolutely.
thank you. Right, let's have another look at this question. Um, so we've got some at the top here, which it says, this is from Nick. They say, how do you maintain consistency with the methods that you implement? I have multiple blank notebooks from deciding I was going to start with a list and then sort of completely forgot about them, or doing it for 3 days and getting bored of it. So do you have any advice
Yeah.
for Nick?
Yeah, I mean, you say that, and I'm looking at all of my lovely notebooks over there. I think consistency is something that needs to be explored. What is consistent for a neurotypical person is that a realistic expectation for us to be consistent. What I've worked with clients, so I'm a coach as well. So I've worked with clients. She had a lot of diaries. She's like, oh, I put it in this diary and I'll put that in that diary. And I said to her, okay. So as a coach, I don't say do this, do that. Not that any other people do. Well, they probably do. Teachers do, don't they? And I said, so how's that working out for you, having two diaries? And she was like, oh, well, actually, it's just causing more overwhelm. Okay, so what do you want to do about it? So I think in answer to that is starting small, not trying to do everything all at once. So, okay, I'm going to just have one notebook and I'm going to use it for notes, funnily enough, and making it an intention. But it's not enough. We need more than, oh, I'm just going to use this one notebook, because we forget, we get bored. So it's about using the GROW model. I mean, you can coach yourself, you can get a coach. If you apply to Access to Work, you can get funding for a coach in the workplace, or if you're self-employed. So do that, get some coaching, then they can work with you on that stuff. So if your goal was to be more consistent with something specific, sorry, I don't know if you can see these.
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's about being intentional and working to set those goals. And yeah, I've got a free course actually that helps you coach yourself on my website. So please check that out. But it's about being compassionate with yourself. Like, am I going to be consistent? Is that realistic? What does consistent mean for me? So I want to write on social media every day. Is that realistic? Well, no, some days I just can't face it. So I don't beat myself up. I say, okay, didn't do one today, that's fine. Try again the next day.
Being compassionate is such a good tip. And we've also got people sharing their own experiences in the chat as well. Right, we've got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you one final question, Suzi, which is,
Yes.
so this is a question from Tessa, and they've asked, do you think that oversharing in the workplace is an ADHD issue? And are there any tools or things to consider that could help someone with this?
It's very common amongst ADHD folk and autistic folk. Again, what's oversharing? I mean, that's going to look different for everyone. So that ADHD person that's oversharing might not even know they're oversharing, because sometimes the filter isn't there, or it can be glitchy. So oversharing, if it's causing a problem, and if it's kind of really, let's say, inappropriate stuff that's making people feel uncomfortable, then a nice conversation, sometimes, especially if we're autistic as well, and you might not even know that, we might not even know we're autistic. So what can be really helpful is by really kindly saying, oh, it's really not appropriate to talk about, the only thing that I can think of is sex life in the office, across the desks, okay? Because it can make people feel uncomfortable. Perhaps you can have those conversations when you're out for a drink. So people get a bit concerned about being direct and having those direct conversations, but that's not a me problem, that's a them problem. So we have to learn to communicate clearly and kindly. And if it is a problem with the oversharing, then let people know, but in a kind way, because they might not know.
Like raising people's awareness to it. But like you said, you've used the words, like you talked about being compassionate, being kind. I think that's super critical, because in any of the, like, especially in work contexts, there's going to be difficult conversations, so to speak, whether
Yeah,
that's developmental feedback. That is, that's really unavoidable in the workplace. But I am a firm believer that you can give that feedback in a kind and compassionate way to someone, and that's a skill that has to be learned, I do think,
yeah,
for managers and colleagues and peers. But that just really struck me when you
absolutely.
were talking about that, Suzi.
Yeah,
Right, so we have 2 minutes left. Suzi, I'm going to say one big final thank you for joining
thank
us
you.
today and for delivering your presentation, and also just for being so generous with your advice and tips during the Q&A. We've had some wonderful interactions in the chat and lots of thank yous and well wishes from the attendees. We're
Oh,
getting more in
thank
now.
you.
So yes, thank you so much, Suzi, and I'll invite you to turn your camera off now whilst I just wrap up the webinar. Thank you, Suzi.
Okay. And thank you everyone for all your involvement. It's been really lovely to see.
It's been great. It's been great. It really has. Such a vibrant session this afternoon, or quite a miserable day, at least here in Bristol. So thank you everyone for joining us on the call. In a second, one of the team is going to post a link to the feedback survey that I mentioned at the start. You can let us know how you found today. You can also ask for more information about captioned and talk type. So I saw some messages in the chat talking about Copilot and Otter AI for meeting notes and summaries. Caption does exactly that. If you're curious to find out more about it, just let us know in the feedback survey. And if you enjoyed today's webinar, which I really think you did, because I saw everything, all of the conversation in the chat panel, please help us spread the word about this community by posting on LinkedIn, tagging CareScribe. We'd love to see all of the tips and advice that you want to share with your peers. Every bit of word of mouth helps us grow this community. So thank you. We're at 2 o'clock. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next month, Thursday the 3rd of July, for our next skill sessions topic, which is speaking to everyone through inclusive communication. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you then. Bye.